We are super excited to show you how to start using your new Pretty Actions digital backdrops for newborns. So in this tutorial, we're just going to jump right in and show you how to composite baby and place your newborn onto a digital backdrop image. So we'll be working with two of our Pretty Actions digital backdrops. You may or may not have these particular backdrops in your collection, and that's fine. This is just a general tutorial on how to complete a realistic, seamless newborn composite. So let's get started. First, we'll be using our flat JPEG image, and then we'll be moving on to our layered PSD backdrop file, and these make it easier to just pop baby right into a scene. So we'll be showing you how to use both. All right, so to get started, we're going to composite this beautiful newborn into our lemon backdrop. Now, I did photograph this image knowing that I wanted to composite her into a yellow digital backdrop. So I already knew that I wanted the yellow fluff around her. If you can, you definitely want to plan ahead of time. That'll take away from any editing that you have to do later on. Okay, so for this one, we'll be cutting around the fluff and moving her over and applying her to the lemon bowl. Now, say you don't have yellow fluff, maybe you have white or cream or pink, and you want to change the color and still create less work for yourself by having the fluff placed around baby. Good news, you can do that. It's super simple to change the color. Make sure you have your actions downloaded by double-clicking on the ATN file in your download folder, okay? Now we have color match. This is an amazing color changing action. You click on it, press play, and follow the step-by-step instructions on how to change the color of whatever you need to in your image, just to match what's in the digital background. So that's a lot of fun and very easy to use. Okay, so we're going to get started and cut out our baby from this image so we can place her into our lemon bowl backdrop. So to do that, first we'll want to duplicate our background layer. So I'm going to go to Layer and Duplicate Layer. I'm just going to press OK. Now we're going to use our polygonal lasso tool. If you don't see it, just right-click in your Tools panel and you'll see your lasso, polygonal, and magnetic lasso tool. So I use polygonal because I have a lot more control and I'm able to make more precise selections using the Select and Mask tool. You can use your lasso, but your finger will likely get tired trying to make that precise selection all the way around baby. Okay, you can also use a magnetic tool. I'll be using this one for this tutorial. So I'm going to make a very loose selection since I'm including the fluff in this particular backdrop. So always remember that and try to plan ahead because it can just make the compositing process so much easier. But of course you don't have to do that, and I'll show you how to make more precise selections around baby with our next tutorial or our next example here. Okay, so I've connected the lines and we now have our marching ants, and now we're going to select our Select and Mask button. Now this also might say refine mask or refine edge depending on what version of Photoshop you have. So I just selected that, and for this particular image with the loose selection that we're making around the fluff, I'm just going to play with radius and bring this way up here. And you can kind of zoom in and see it's making really nice, precise selections. You'll notice that this is amazing for selecting little hairs on baby when we're getting that close in crop. Okay, so that's really all I'm doing. There's not too much to select right now just because we're including the fluff. So this is really super simple. Before we click OK, I'm going to click on Invert. Now we'll press OK. I'm going to zoom back out real quickly here and press Delete on my keyboard. Okay, to get rid of those marching ants, we're just going to go to Select in our menu bar and click on Deselect. Now notice our checkerboard behind baby here in the Layers panel. This is the empty space that we've just deleted. So we want to click on our background layer here on the bottom. Click on the little eye to turn that off, okay? So here we have just our selection that we've made on the top layer here. Now we want to save this as a PNG file so we can easily place it onto our digital backdrop. So to do that, we're going to select File, Save As, navigate to where you want this saved on your computer. Okay, and we're going to change the format, scroll down and select PNG. That's very important because it will keep that empty space that you've created for your selection. Okay, and I'm just going to name this. And press enter and OK. Okay, so now we're going to click on our backdrop. So this is our lemon bowl. And going back over to my actions, we have the newborn applicator. So this makes it super easy and fun to apply your newborn to your digital backdrop. We're going to press play and follow the handy dandy instructions. And here I have my PNG file that I've just saved. So let's go ahead and resize that here. And you can always resize again later. There's no worries of getting like an exact measurement or an exact size at this moment. So I kind of like that. I'm going to press enter. Okay, and we're going to follow our instructions, paint with a soft black brush to clean up your baby layer and erase anything that you don't want to show on your final image. Okay, so that would be the fluff in this case. There's a little too much fluff on the bottom. You can see that, and it's not blending very well. I'll show you how to do that as well in just a moment. First thing we want to look at is the light and the orientation of baby. If you look at the backdrop, the light's coming in from the left-hand side, and you can see that because there's shadows coming off of the lemons and the wreath here on the right. So the light is definitely coming from up here on the left. Now, if you look at baby, the light's coming from the opposite direction. So I'm just gonna make sure my baby layer is clicked, and I'm gonna flip her around. So to do that, we're going to go to Edit, Transform, and Flip Horizontal, okay? If you click on the Move tool up here in your Tools panel, you can also kind of rotate baby. I'm just gonna rotate her a tiny bit here. And I might move her and resize her as well in just a moment. Let me click enter. I like that. And we're gonna clean up a little bit here. So to do that, I'm just gonna click back on the layer mask. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, click on my brush, and we're gonna bring black to the foreground color. Okay, and you can make your brush larger and smaller using the left and right bracket keys. And I'm going to bring my brush opacity down to about 25%. So I don't want to erase everything. I want to have the ability to really make a nice blend. So I'm just going to start clicking around the edges. Notice how it's just erasing just lightly a little bit on the edge. Now some of it I do want to erase completely once I get down towards the bottom. Now, if you accidentally brush over top baby, that's fine. Just bring white to the foreground color, bring it up to 100% so you can bring baby back to her full opacity. I'm just going to bring my brush back down here. And I am going to bring it up to 100% just because I want to take all of the fluff off of the wood bowl. And then I can kind of go in and fade it after that. I'm gonna just go on the top there. And let's bring it back down. Okay, and you'll want to make your brush smaller if you have less space to work with. If I had a large brush and I was working on the bottom of baby, I would be erasing some of her bottom there. And I don't want that to happen. We want to keep all of baby on the image. And if it's getting kind of hard to see with all the blending going on, you can always turn your layer on and off, and that really helps you just gain perspective on where the original fluff is and where the fluff is that you're photographing. Or you can always put a blanket under baby. It's a really big trend to layer and have many different layers and textures in images. So don't feel like you need to have the exact same color or the exact same prop. These are really so easy to do and just so much fun. So I'm gonna leave this pretty much like that. Notice how I don't have to do any shadowing now because the fluff is already around her. I'm just erasing a little bit at the bottom. And we're just gonna zoom back out here and take a quick look at the image. Absolutely perfect. I'm loving it. I also want to mention I did already edit Baby before cutting her out. You'll definitely want to do that, make your job a whole lot easier, and really diminish having to have a lot of different layers in your layers panel when you're working with the digital backdrops. And I'm really liking how Baby fits in the image right now, so I'm not going to resize. If I wanted to, I could just click on the layer, grab the move tool, and just click on our little dials here and resize her as needed. But I'm really loving this. It's perfect, and we're done. How quick and simple was that, guys? So much fun, and we're going to move on to the second image just to see a little bit of a different scenario. So here we have our layered PSD file, and I'm going to use our little baby dressed up in the most adorable bunny outfit. So keep in mind, you definitely want to plan according to which backdrop you'll be putting Baby into. And I really wanted to show you guys this. Think if we put Baby into that image just like this, okay, she's wrapped up, all bundled, super cute, but it won't look realistic because she's not very, she doesn't look supported at the bottom, okay? So we're gonna make a few changes in the liquify, using the liquify tool, and I like to duplicate the background, so we're just going to click layer, duplicate, press OK, and we're going to go to filter and liquify. Okay, you'll want to do this anytime Baby's sitting on a shelf, the floor, basically sitting upright. You want to make sure that they look comfy and supported, or it won't look real. So I'm also adjusting my brush using the left and right bracket keys, and I'm just gonna click, and basically what I want to do is kind of round her out a little bit here, making sure that the bottom comes out and is more is larger than the top of her. And this isn't going to take too long, and you really just want to make little adjustments. I'm not going super crazy here. But notice how she looks supported. So if we were to sit her in an image, she would look very comfy, cozy, and not stiff, straight, and upright. Okay, so now I just want to deal with the bottom. I'm really just going to kind of smush this in. I'm not too worried about the bottom because in the image that we're using, her bottom will be covered by the rabbit's foot. But I still just I want to bring that in a little bit, knowing that it doesn't have to look exactly perfect and precise. So there we go. I'm really liking that. I'm going to press OK, and voila. Now we want to make our precise selection. So I'll show you how to do that. We're still going to use the polygonal lasso tool. I like to zoom in kind of close when using this. So we're just going to click right outside the outline of Baby. Okay, and now you can see where this can be tiring if you're using just the regular lasso tool, depending on what editing tool you're using as well, whether you have a Wacom or whatever, you can use what works best for you. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going all the way around the outside edge of Baby and her cute little outfit here. Okay, and don't skip over empty spaces. Instead of like going down here, I'm still going to go up into this little crevice between the ear and Baby's wrap. And it doesn't have to be super perfect. Again, see that I'm leaving a slight space in between my selection right now. and baby. I'm doing that on purpose because we're going to use our selected mask, or you might have refine edge, and I'm going to make more precise selections with that. And you might have a different process that works better for you. We just want to get baby cut out here, so whatever works best for you is absolutely fine. Okay, we're almost done. And there we go. I'm going to connect the lines together. We've got our marching ants around baby, and I'm going to click on select and mask. So we're going to keep our zoom on baby. I really want to see how the selection is hugging in towards her. So the first slider dial that I'm going to use is radius. I'm just going to move that in. Notice how you can see it's grabbing the little fuzzies here. I absolutely love this. Okay, so I'm just going to play with it, move in a little bit. And I also like to go down to shift edge. Okay, and let's move the slider down to the left. Notice how the further I move it to the left, it's coming in closer to baby. And these are very forgivable. If you go too far, just bring it back out. That's absolutely fine. Okay, I like that. I might bring the radius up a little bit. Yes. Okay. And I'm just going to scroll around. Again, I'm not too worried about the bottom. If I need to erase some using my layer mask, I can do that later on. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to click on invert and OK. And now we're going to click or select delete on our keyboard. Voila, look at your layer and your layers panel. The background is gone. And I'm just going to go to select and deselect to get rid of my marching ants. Okay, so let's turn that background off. Go to File, Save As. Okay, we're going to click next to the format and scroll down, select PNG. Name your file. And okay. All right, we're going to move on to our rabbit. So notice this is a layered file. So we'll just take a quick look at these layers. Notice how it says place baby above this layer. I'm going to click on that layer to get started, okay? And that will ensure that when I place baby, she'll be placed, or he will be placed right above that layer. We've clicked on our layer. Let's run newborn applicator. I'm going to press play and continue, and I'm just going to click on my PNG file. Notice how baby is being placed behind certain parts of the rabbit here. Now she's obviously too big. So we're going to do some resizing. I'm just going to click on the little dial here. And so you see how baby's being placed right underneath the rabbit, who's completely looks like she's snuggling with the baby. I'm just so in love with this. So pretty. Okay, so I'm just going to play and kind of move back and forth. I want it to look like baby's just leaning into the rabbit here. So I'm just going to move her back and forth until I find it's working best for this image. Okay, so I really like that. I'm going to press enter. Okay, and here we have our instructions for cleanup. Press continue. If you do find that some of the selections were not as precise as you wanted, you can always zoom in here. Do see some pink fuzzies, so I can grab my brush. You'll want to bring the opacity to 100 because we're not really blending. In this case, we'd be erasing. So I can just go in and erase that. Okay, so I'm really liking that. We're going to go ahead and zoom back out here. Okay, so if we look at the layers, we'll notice the right side bunny is above baby, and that's really just what kind of covers baby and makes her look like she's snuggled in there. And we have our optional shadow layer, and let's go ahead and turn that on. We're going to click on the little eyeball, and notice how it's creating a shadow on the bunny's belly, which really makes it look like more realistic, like baby is leaning in towards the bunny there. So Really, really nice. Now, if you want to create more shadows on baby, let's go ahead and see what happens. We're going to click Apply Shadow Baby. Press play. Now it says make sure your baby layer is selected. So I'm going to press stop. My baby layer is not selected. So I'm going to click on her and we'll press play again. Continue and follow our handy dandy instructions. We're going to paint with a soft white brush at an opacity of just 10. Okay, so I have my brush selected. We're going to change the opacity down to 10, and this allows you to have so much more control over the shadows and add as little or as much shadow as you need. So I'm just going to place a little bit of a shadow towards the crease where the rabbit's foot meets the bottom of baby. And notice as I keep brushing over her, it's adding more depth and more of a shadow. Okay, and I can do that down here. Basically, and notice how it's not that I'm being super careful, it's just only applying to baby. Anything that I brush on here will not be applied to the rabbit or the background. That's just how cool the action is and how easy it is to use. Okay, so sometimes it helps zooming out to see if you're creating too much shadow, not enough. And if you do realize, oh, maybe I put too much shadow on there, you can always bring black back to the foreground color and brush it off. These are so easy to use when using layer masks. Okay. I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow here to baby's bottom. So notice when the brush is larger, it just creates more of a softer shadow. And once you get down towards the crease, you want to make your brush smaller to have that nice defined crisp shadow crease line. And basically I'm just applying shadow to anywhere where part of baby's body meets something else or is buried in something else or behind something else. So you can keep that in mind when using the buckets and bowls. You'll want to create a shadow around baby to create that little shadowed crease. And sometimes I like to lower the opacity down pretty low. I can just bring an extra little bit of depth and shadow, making my brush larger and brushing along the left-hand side here. Okay, and you can just really see that the light is coming in from here. And I can also create a shadow on baby's head, just ever so slightly because the bunny is resting down on her head, so blocking out a little bit of light there. Okay, and I think I added a little bit too much shadow, so I brought black back to the foreground color, and I'm just going to brush that back a little bit there. Okay, but I'm really liking this. It's looking gorgeous. Let's take a look at some of our other actions that we have. We have our warm all over glow. So let's just click on that and see what happens. Bam. So we definitely have one quick click and we were able to add this gorgeous glow to the image. Digital composites are all about like lighting and where your lighting is coming from. So when you can add more light to the image, it really makes everything look very cohesive. And this is a way to do that. Now, if you don't want to add an all-over glow, you want to look for where your light is coming from. This baby, the light was coming from the right, and it's also coming from the right in the digital backdrop. So notice we didn't have to flip her with this one. Now, since the light is coming from the right-hand side, we can click on Warm Glow Top Right, okay? And this just really helps bring that extra light into the image. You can use both. And definitely one or both. Definitely click on them. I like to bring the opacity down to 0 and work my way up and just find what opacity works best for the particular image. All right, that's a wrap, you guys. I hope you had just as much fun going through this tutorial as I did, teaching you all how to utilize your Pretty Actions digital backdrops to their fullest and just make beautiful, seamless newborn composites. Enjoy!